All right, welcome back to the Fantasy Labs podcast. This is Brian. I am back. I'm here with Justin, and yeah, what's up, Justin? Thanks for covering the last, I guess, week or two for me while I was gone. How's it been going?
What Caribbean island exotic place are you podcasting from this time? There's no way you could actually be here, with the rest of us slumming and doing an actual podcast from the continental U.S.
Yeah, I'm just all over the place, man. It's we can play daily game. Where in the world is Brian? I'm somewhere. I'll let you guys figure it out. Yeah, so we're here on Sunday night. We're gonna go over the Monday slate. It's 9 games. And we will jump right into it. So thanks for being patient while we kind of had a rotating cast. Well, I guess it was the regular cast, and Pete jumped in on Thursday. But we are back full force until All-Star break, and then afterwards, kind of with the regular thing. So we'll get right to it. So let's run through this slate, Justin. We got 9 games on Monday, starting with the 7 o'clock games. The first game we'll talk about is Cleveland at Indiana. And I'll kick to you. Do you have the line and any injuries?
Yeah, Cavs are favored by 4.5 here with a pretty juicy implied total of 107.3, which I really like here. No injuries for the Cavs. On the Pacers side, we have Yam Mahimni, questionable with that sore lower back. Rodney Stuckey came out today that he's going to be out through the All-Star break with that right foot bone bruise. All right, so let's start off with Cleveland here. And, the big three at the top, obviously LeBron, Kevin Love, Kyrie. Kevin Love has been the guy who's been playing out of his mind lately and really catches my attention out of this group. I think he's probably, the closest to cash game consideration. LeBron, obviously, always in the mix. But how concerned are you with this matchup for Kevin Love against Miles Turner potentially?
Not really. Yeah, I think Miles Turner is fine. He's going to be a good defender. I don't think. I mean, I don't think as a rookie, really, any rookies are that good at defense. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about that matchup. And the other matchup you could potentially look at that you could be concerned with is Paul George on LeBron. But LeBron, played really well against Kawhi last game, and they destroyed the Spurs. And LeBron did a lot of cool stuff. I saw a tweet where he did some nifty thing where every time one of his players got a defensive rebound, they would have a transition opportunity. He would run to the other side from where Kawhi was, so it would create confusion of who Kawhi would have to match up to in transition. So it actually got LeBron off Kawhi onto a different, easier defender. So LeBron's obviously kind of using his basketball IQ. So I think that he's fine in cash games. I think Kevin Love in the spot is in a really good position. I think he's fine in cash game. And Kyrie, I think, is close to that too. I think all these guys are probably really properly priced. Love and Kyrie are probably a little underpriced. LeBron's probably fine. So, I think I'm okay with really all of them. And I think all of them are great tournament plays too, with their ceilings. It's kind of hard to figure out what you want to do with these guys because it's only a couple games into the Tyronn Lue era. Is it going to be the Cavs against the Spurs, or was that just a little blip? And are they going to be like how they were against the Bulls? It's kind of hard to tell right now.
Yeah, I really like what I've seen from Kevin Love and Ty Lue, feeding him in the post a little bit more and get him an open and get him more involved in the offense overall. So, I'm with you. I think all three are definitely in consideration. Kyrie's the only thing with there is the minutes, and given the spread of 4.5, it's close enough to where I don't have to consider worry too much about the minutes downside for Kyrie. I think he could be right at or above 30 minutes in this one. So, good with all of them. Tristan Thompson, another guy. I think he's been in the starting lineup now over Mozgov. And definitely a guy worth taking a look at too. Let me check out his price here.
Moz?
5,300 Tristan Thompson on DraftKings and 4,700 on FanDuel. So I'm still good with some Thompson exposure on FanDuel at 4,700. I think that's a decent spot against this front court too. Yeah, and that about wraps it up for Cleveland for me.
Yeah, same. So Tristan's okay in tournaments, but it has a really low floor, so I wouldn't go in cash. Yeah. So on the other side, I think really the two guys that we're interested in for potentially cash is and not even really that much. Monta's just been killing it, Monte Ellis. So I guess that 7K price tag is ridiculous. He's been over 53 fantasy points the last two, and just having a ton of volume, a ton of minutes. So if you really just kind of want to ride the hot hand, that Amon Shumpert matchup, just Cleveland in general at the 7K price tag, it means that he's off cash for me. And Miles Turner, his price is up there too, but he's continuing to see good minutes, and you would assume that he's going to continue to get those as well. Paul George is always in play. He's been really streaky the last couple of weeks. He obviously has 60-point fantasy potential, but against LeBron and Cleveland, and really just kind of the inconsistent nature of his play. Really, all three of these guys are tournament plays, and I think I like George and Miles Turner the best here.
Yeah, I'm off PG personally. I just don't. I mean, we talked about PG before. Theoretically, he has that ceiling, but given his recent play and also the matchup here, I don't see a realistic ceiling to where I think he's even worth it in tournaments. I'm off PG in both formats. I'm not really looking forward to playing Monte, though. I think he's kind of the de facto guy that the usage has to go to here. Only in tournaments still, and the guy I look at is Turner. I think he has the best blend of minutes, usage, and price. So he's 5,200 on FanDuel, which
FanDuel is a lot better.
Yeah, which I still think is obviously very reasonable, and I think his usage has been crazy. I think he's shooting like almost 20 shot attempts per 36 some games, and comfortably above 18 in most of his recent performances. So
right.
When he's out there, he's definitely shooting it and has big block potential as well. So he's my favorite play out of this group. I think Jordan Hill is worth a look for sure if Mahinmi is out again with that sore lower back. He drew the start. Jordan Hill did last game, and he put up a big line, 43.9 FanDuel points, put up 27 and 3 with 6 blocks. So I got to mention Jordan Hill, give him some love with Jay off, not on this pod. Have to give the usual plug to Jordan Hill here.
Yeah, and I'll bring that back down because, all right, so it was against the Nuggets, who are awful. And he had 6 blocks, which had to be, his career high. The dude's not a defensive player. He never gets a block, and all of a sudden had 6 blocks in a game. So I think that's pretty points chasey, especially against a Cleveland team that's really, really good with regard to their front court defense. So
no, that's fine. I'm not chasing 44 points. I'm chasing 20s.
I think that's tough.
Yeah, I think he can in mid 20s if he gets a start for
it's okay.
It's fine. It's fine at 4,500 on FanDuel. I don't think it's an elite play. I don't think you definitely want to target this matchup, but he's definitely in the mix as well.
Okay.
And George Hill, not really,
nah.
And Mahinmi, not really.
Yep, agreed. Okay, let's keep on moving. Detroit, Brooklyn's the next game we'll talk about. Over-under's 203. Detroit's 5.5 point favorites. And I think there's some news and notes for this one.
Yeah, let's go. Pistons favored by 5.5 here. Injury there is Ersan Ilyasova is questionable with that left thigh. Was a really late scratch last game. Anthony Tolliver drew the start in his place. Brooklyn's fully healthy. So let's start with Detroit side. 104.3 implied. I think Andre Drummond is really, really strong here, especially against a Brooklyn Nets team that can't rebound the ball well and is just a poor team defensively. So I think he's a very attractive play. Reggie Jackson too. I think he had a rougher game than some expected. But he was dealing with dehydration last game. He was questionable about 10 minutes before tip and then ended up playing. So I think, with a couple of days off, I'm really good with Reggie in tournaments especially.
Yeah, agreed. I think Drummond's pretty easy cash. Some people might be scared off of his game log recently, but it's actually a little misleading. A lot of it's matchup dependent. He's gotten some foul trouble in some of these games, so I wouldn't get too scared of some of the bad games in his game log. I think he's fine. And at 8-6, I think that's kind of easy. Reggie Jackson is always kind of a tournament play. He's not quite as elite as he used to be, just because the Brandon Jennings minutes obviously cuts into things. Even though Steve Blake was kind of doing the same thing, but a little more so now. So still a tournament play, but maybe just kind of an average one. Caldwell Pope's getting minutes. I guess you could throw him in there for a tournament. The guy that I'm looking for in potentially even cash other than Drummond is Stanley Johnson. He's at 4-2 on DraftKings. If he's going to get, he's gotten about 30 minutes the last couple games, and so it puts his implied point total at, I think, very, very reasonable. And he's doing a little everything. He's getting rebounds, he's getting some assists, he's gotten a steal a game the last several. So I think that 4-2 price tag, he's going to get 30 minutes, is pretty easy to pay off. And Marcus Morris, I guess I'll finish and say that I think he's okay. They've been doing some pretty cool lineups with him at the 4, more so than Ilyasova, with Drummond at the 5 and Stanley at the 3. So I kind of like him as a tournament play, but Stanley and Drummond are the 2 cashes for me.
Yeah, I'm really on board with Stanley Johnson and KCP. Those are my 2 other tournament plays. I think you definitely want some exposure to this game some way or the other, and those 2 are kind of cheaper ways to get a piece of this Nets defense. That's been very forgiving the entire season. All right, let's move on to the Brooklyn side here. Mm-hmm. I'm not really targeting this game too much, though. Brook Lopez has been insane as of late, averaging 49 DK points over the last week, and you get the matchup against Drummond here. So Brook Lopez, 7,400 on DK, 8,800 on FanDuel. 7,400 on DK is still a very reasonable price, puts him in consideration despite the tough matchup. What you're really ever concerned about Brook Lopez is the minutes for him, and depending on how much Bargs, Willie Reed, Thomas Robinson play in that front court, how much they take away from him. 5.5 point spread plus the fact that Willie Reed and Thomas Robinson haven't been playing too heavy lately. I think they've taken some DNP CDs as of late and playing 5 minutes sometimes too. So I'm good with Brook Lopez here despite the tough matchup. I think 7,400 is way too cheap still on DraftKings.
Yep, I'm fine with him too. You're right, it's a bad matchup, and Drummond could get him in foul trouble. So, I get that. If you don't want to take that risk, it's fine. But, his recent play plus the price, really, really suggests that he should be in your cash game radar. I do think the potential risk, and maybe people might be scared of that matchup, makes him an elite tournament play, because you still have the ceiling and you still have the price, but you also might get him at a little bit lower ownership too. So I think Brook is a really good target in tournaments. Kind of going down the rest of these guys, I don't think there's any other cash game plays for Brooklyn. That I think you could play in tournaments. And then going down, I actually don't mind Wayne Ellington as a sneaky play. He's been playing 30 minutes the last 3. He could get hot from 3-point line, especially on DK where you get the 3-point bonus. I don't mind him as kind of a sneaky tournament play at almost min price.
Yeah, the concern with Ellington is obviously Detroit's perimeter defense is pretty stingy, and this is probably not the greatest spot for him, though I agree the minutes have been there. What surprised me about Brook Lopez with the Drummond thing is that when you look on DK and his opponent rating, Detroit is 26th, so they're pretty green. Maybe not as quite a good of a tournament play as we think. Because of that, I think people tend to put a little bit too much weight into what they see in that column. So maybe he'll be a little higher than we hope. But I still like the price for sure. All right, let's move on to this next game here.
Sure. Dallas and Atlanta is the next game we'll talk about. Overrunner's 200 right now, and the Hawks are 7-point favorites. So I'll kick to you for news and notes here.
Yeah, so both these teams are coming off a back-to-back, and with Dallas, Dirk Nowitzki sat on Sunday against a really bad Suns team. They're coming up, in a pretty tough part of their schedule. Dallas is 5 games in 7 nights, so it's good for Dirk to rest. He'll come back on Monday for sure. He's confirmed playing. Devin Harris still doubtful with that sprained left toe. Hawks come in as 7-point favorites, 103.5 implied, and the Hawks are fully healthy. Let's start with Dallas' side here. 96.5 implied total for them, which is really low for them this season, especially. They're usually somewhere in the mid hundreds with their implied totals, and I usually struggle to get them close to that team total there. So yeah, definitely not a great spot. With Dirk back in the lineup, I think you're kind of looking at like Parsons and Zaza as like tournament type plays. I don't think I'm really on anybody here in cash, though. I just don't like this spot in general.
Yeah, I mean, I think if the one guy you're going to go in cash would be Parsons, right?
Yeah, I mean, given the way he's 7K now on DraftKings, let's see, on FanDuel 6,700. So given his play as of late, I don't think Dirk affects him like too much. It takes out some usage, but given his form lately, he's been absolutely on fire, even when Dirk's been playing. So yeah, I don't mind it. I don't mind it.
Yeah, and he's kind of more of a point forward. So, just look at some of these. A lot of these small forwards are really dependent upon their point guards and kind of the offense. And obviously the small forwards that we like, the Durant's, the LeBron's. It's not saying that he's in that caliber, but those guys kind of act more as point guards at times. They facilitate offense. And Parsons has done that a lot recently with the Dallas offense. So I think that he can affect his usage a little more than some small forwards can, which provides some safety for me. So you're right. He's not the greatest cash game play, but if there is one on Dallas, he's the guy. I think.
I do worry that the letdown is going to come sooner. It's coming. He's been like absolutely on fire. People have been riding him hard for good reason. Yeah. But yeah, I'm a little leery. He's like you said, not my top cash game play, but definitely given his form, 6,700 on FanDuel, worth consideration. How heavy are we on Zaza here, especially given the matchup against the Hawks front court that really struggles to rebound the ball well?
Yeah, I think that he's okay. I would prefer him. So he's one of those guys where I really never play him in tournaments. I always prefer him in cash. But, his plays have been great lately. I get the matchup. So the matchup kind of would make me more on tournaments just because it's interesting. But the risk is still there, just kind of recent play. So I don't know. The minutes have still been there. I guess he would be okay in cash.
He played 36 minutes on Sunday, got 9 and 15.
Yeah, so I wouldn't freak out if I ended up with him in cash. He's 5'8" on DraftKings, so that's fine. I don't think he's going to tank your lineup by any means. I think I like some better values, but 5'8's fine.
Yeah.
Cash, yeah.
He's been pretty solid. Like when he's gotten minutes, I think he definitely has low 30, mid 30 DK potential for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So other than that,
no one else for me.
Yeah, off Darren Williams, off JJ Barea, who's been playing pretty well in general lately. Yeah.
West get a ton of minutes, but awful. Yeah, nothing really else on Dallas' side.
All right, so let's move to Atlanta's side. Paul Millsap, huge letdown on Sunday. I got to mention that. I don't know if it was – I should have known better than to – it was against the
Pacers.
Yeah, no. The Hawks played Miami.
Right.
Yeah, so obviously a stingy defense, so he struggled big time. That whole Hawks team scored, 87 points in the game, but that was like a lot of point padding at the end. They struggled even more the first 3 quarters. But yeah, and this matchup, 103.5. Where are we at on Millsap here with this matchup? Are we back on the saddle after a letdown? Is this a good buy low opportunity for him?
Yeah, I think so. Going up against Miami or the Spurs and any of these are really good defensive teams, especially front court. Like I don't think there's any reason to panic and just kind of assume that. I mean, Millsap's great.
He's
He's an all
super
star.
consistent.
Yeah, I have no problems going him in cash or tournaments for sure.
All right. So let's see beyond that. T played 26 minutes, ended up fouling out, but he's been up a little higher. Not really on him in either format.
Hmm.
Uh, Schroeder, the spread isn't quite big enough for me to like him. I think I'd want a spread closer to like 9 or 10 plus for me to think he'll play significant minutes off the bench. Horford and Bazemore are really the only guys worth looking at, and yeah, I'm not too on either. I think you can
Yeah,
have some Horford,
yeah.
but light exposure on both these guys in the spot.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not really on Bays. I don't particularly love the matchup. I think West has been really struggling on offense, but I think defensively, him and Parsons have been pretty good. So that not a great matchup there. Horford, I do think that there's some potential there. So if I had to, pick my favorite tournament guy other than Millsap, Horford would be the one for me. But kind of fringy all the rest of the way through the Atlanta lineup. So not a crazy interesting game necessarily. Okay, let's move on. Memphis, New Orleans is the next game we'll talk about. Over under is 201. I believe that's updated. Yeah, 201, and then New Orleans is favorite, so they're 1 point favorites here. So yeah, I'll kick to you. I guess probably this has to do with some injury stuff.
Yeah, not so. I mean, Marcus Sol's questionable with a left knee injury, and I think he's been dealing with that issue for a little bit here. I suspect he'll end up playing. And on the Pelicans side, Tyreek Evans is questionable with that right knee tendonitis. So we'll have to see with him. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised a little bit that New Orleans is not favorite here. But yeah, let's start with Memphis side. Marcus Sol. So tough spot here because bulky knee,
Yeah,
but the cushy matchup against the Pelican centers who have just hemorrhage points.
yeah.
I think this is a tournament spot. I
Mhm.
kind of question the range a little bit. It's a little bit too wide for me, but I think the upside is there if Gasol looks like his usual self here. I definitely think he can have a huge game. Last game too, I think he had like a 14-point first quarter or something. He slowed down for sure, but
Mhm.
I definitely think if he can put it together for a full game, definitely will pay off in tournaments. Yeah, how about a little Jeff Green too?
Yep.
I mean, he's been playing pretty substantial minutes as of late and producing. I'm seeing that usage bump off the bench,
Mhm.
and yeah, last three games. FanDuel points 45, 27, and 38. So I like him in tournaments. I don't ever trust Jeff Green enough to play him in cash,
Never.
but still a really good tournament play. And
Yep.
looking beyond that, yeah, Mike Conley is always concerning me with the minutes downside there
Mhm.
with Chalmers and yeah. Tony Allen at 4,700 at shooting guard if you have to stretch, but that's still fringy for me.
Yeah, I'll keep it short on my end. Yeah, I love Gasol as a tournament play. With the kind of the risk of the knee, the fact that he's been a little up and down, but has a great matchup. That all kind of screams tournament. When you have risk, but you also have a potential for reward. That's always a great tournament play. So love him. And Jeff Green, yeah, I mean him coming off the bench and getting the usage. He's obviously a lot better coming off the bench against those second units. And at 5'3", he's going to get still a lot of minutes, but a lot of usage as well. He's kind of an elite tournament play right now until he goes back to realizing that he's Jeff Green and sucks again. So yeah, those are the two guys I'm targeting. I'm not really interested in Conley, Zebo, Allen, any of these guys. So that's it for me. Just tournament those two guys. Where are you with New Orleans?
Yeah, so I think this kind of depends on the status of Tyreek Evans, but I still like Drew Holiday either way.
Yep.
If Reek plays or not, his usage rate is obscene coming off the bench. Like pretty much shooting or assisting on every possession that he's seeing, and it's really frustrating at times that Drew doesn't play more minutes, but he can still absolutely destroy his salary and expectation in 27 minutes.
Yeah.
I think he's easy cash at this point, even at his elevated price tag. Let's see. Oh wow, 7,100 now on FanDuel and 7,400 on DK. It makes it definitely a little dicier. Let me rethink this. So this is against Memphis too. It's a little tougher matchup. I think he's a cash game consideration, but maybe not as obvious maybe as past games given the spot.
Yeah, I think he's an okay cash game play. I would lean a little more tournament for Drew in the spot, really just because of the matchup. But yeah, I think if you end up with him, I don't think he's going to necessarily tank your lineup. He might hit values, he may not just crush it, but yeah, I'm okay with him in tournaments for sure. And Davis is kind of the same way. I think that he's fine in tournaments, but the matchup isn't really great at price tag 9.8 for cash games. I think Ryan Anderson's great cash game and tournament play though.
Yeah, I mean he's been doing really well, with or without Davis. For Davis, I don't know if the ceiling is there right now. He's like consistently been in he's been kind of capped at like 50 FanDuel points. I haven't seen him above 50 FanDuel points in a while. So I don't know. I think he's in that weird spot where I don't think he's like an elite cash game play, and I don't think he's elite tournament play either.
Yeah, I think just because if we know what he's capable of and the fact that he's under 10K makes him elite tournament play.
Yeah, it's like on DK, right?
Yeah, just kind of those conditions. It's it's coming at some point. Like you can't, if you're going to run out multiple lineups, you're going to run out 25 lineups, you can't completely fade Davis.
Agreed.
But yeah, I agree if you want to kind of minimize exposure until you see the ceiling. I'm fine with that. Rhino, yeah, like I said, cash, tournament, yes, both.
We're off Davis and cash, though.
Yeah,
I am.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tournaments only. Drew is tournaments only for me, but I get the cash argument. And Rhino is both. And really that's it for me on New Orleans side.
Yeah, if Reek is out, I think Norris Cole is iffy. I don't target him particularly. Let's see his price here. 5,700 on DK and 4,700 on FanDuel. So I might give Norris Cole a look as a cheaper option at 4,700 on FanDuel, but he's not a guy I'm definitely obviously not starting my teams with.
Cool. All right, let's keep on going. Washington OKC is the next game we'll talk about, and this is the one. This is the juicy one. I'm actually going to write about this one tomorrow, so watch out for that. So yeah, it's juicy because of this total. It's 222. It is actually 226 that opened, down to 222, but still really, really high. Oklahoma City's 9.5 point favorite. So the spread's high, but this total is up there for sure. So yeah, any news notes on this game?
Yeah, so Otto Porter's in a weird spot because I don't think he's injured, like he's going to miss. So I think he's probably going to play on Monday, but he's still dealing with like a right hip issue and a back issue as well. And he might be on a minutes restriction. He came on the last play for like a defensive stint, but he didn't play much at all in this one. I don't think we can expect Porter to play full minutes here again. I'd put his minutes probably high teens, low 20s at this point. He's played 18 minutes and 12 minutes his last two. So we'll have to keep an eye on Porter. And Chris Humphries, he's doubtful. He's like the new McRoberts here. He's going to keep missing games until one day Jay gives him a bunch of crap on this pod and he plays. All right, so on OKC side, Cameron Payne is still questionable with a concussion. So backup point guard minutes there. We'll have to see. DJ Augustine will get his minutes otherwise. All right, so for such a juicy game, I think this is 221 and a half 221 total and a half total.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty simple for me because I think these two teams are very top heavy right now.
Yeah.
And for Washington, it's Wall and Gortat, and with Oklahoma City, it's obviously KD and Russell Westbrook. Those, I think you don't have to go too far by saying those four are strong cash game plays in this spot.
Yep.
Beyond that, you look at Nene as a tournament play for Washington because I think he'll have to play bigger. They'll play bigger in this one against Ibaka.
Yeah.
And you look at OKC side, and you maybe take a look at guys like Ibaka, Steven Adams, Enes Kanter as tournament plays too. So that about does it, for me for those two teams.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. Yeah, even though it's seems like a game you really want to break down in depth, you're right. It is pretty easy just because these guys are very top heavy. Yeah, I agree with the calls on the top guys being cash games, and I think a bunch of these guys are interesting tournament plays. With the total, it really implied that there's going to be a lot of points somewhere. So it's hard to tell. Is Jared Dudley going to have a great game, or is Garrett Temple going to get a little more extended minutes, or even Ramon Sessions? If you never know. So make your best guess. If I had to pick, I do like the Nene pick. I don't mind some Dudley here and there. On OKC side, Cantor would be the guy that I target.
I like Steven Adams.
You like Steven Adams? Okay.
But I like Cantor too. Obviously, he's always in play. 9.5 point spread too makes him.
Yeah, I think the game actually might get a little out of hand. So
yeah,
and it's in OKC, so I like the Cantor call if he gets kind of fourth quarter run for sure. So, but yeah, so I think that really any player that's going to get 20 minutes in this game is in play in tournaments just because of the spread.
Except for Dion Waiters.
Yeah, he could play 40 minutes and not be in play. Yeah. But cash lean those studs, yeah, for sure. Westbrook, Durant, Wall, Gortat, those are your stud cash game plays, and I think they're great ones.
Yeah, I think, man, 10-9 and 10-7 on FanDuel for those two guys. Wow.
I think they'll both hit value though.
Yeah, they will, but it's pricey. I mean, I was looking more at the idea of possibly entertaining rostering both.
Both, yeah.
Which I think was maybe somewhat possible like a week ago when they were like at 11-1 and 10-9, 10-7 or something like that.
Yeah.
But like if they're going to cost you like 21 some and change between them, then that gets tricky. I mean.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I think that might be a tournament thing. See if you could fit them in tournaments. Don't do that in cash.
Yeah, as usual, KD is the play on DK and Russ is the play on FanDuel given their pricing.
Cool. Yeah, I agree with that for sure. Let's keep on going. Orlando, San Antonio is the next game we'll talk about. Over-under's 201, and San Antonio's big favorites here. They're 16-point favorites at home against the Magic. I think this game's pretty easy too. San Antonio coming off. They've had two games recently against the two top teams in the NBA, I guess if you want to say they are in the Warriors and the Cavs, and got kind of blown out in both of them. So I think this might be a game where they kind of just take out their I don't know if they have anger because they're machines, but whatever it may be, they would take it out on Orlando. So kind of takes Orlando off the table for me, really, in cash or tournaments. I guess you could get cute in tournaments if you want to, but I'm probably not going to really roster Orlando guys tomorrow.
Yeah, I think the guy I'd probably look for maybe in tournaments as a cheap option is Aaron Gordon. Played big minutes on Sunday. Had a big line too.
He's so good, and
he really is, and
they just need to let him play.
Yeah, and that about does it for me. I think I would usually shout out Jay's boy Mario Hezonja, but not a good spot for him in this one at all. So I think Gordon's about it for me, and it's not super strong either. All right, so yeah, the Spurs guys have been extremely disappointing. You highlighted the matchups, but like the projected stats without Duncan, we were expecting a lot more from those guys,
Yeah.
Kawhi and Aldridge in particular. And Aldridge really, I mean, if we're being real, like out of the 3 games as of late, the only one that really looked that great was Kawhi versus Houston. And that's about it. And that's the only 40-point game we got out of anybody. Kawhi's mostly been pretty disappointing. He came through with 24 against the Cavs, but the supporting stats just haven't been there for either player. And with the 16-point spread here, I don't know. I'm not super on either of these guys, even with their soft price tag. 7,300 for Kawhi on FanDuel and 6,700 for Aldridge on FanDuel. I just worry that they're not going to play more than 29 minutes here.
Agreed. Yeah, I think it's a really tough spot for them. Really because of recent play plus the huge spread. Yeah, I agree completely. Yeah, it is interesting because Duncan, when a player goes out, let's say like they are worth like 20% production of their team or whatever it may be, and usually that 20% is filled up. But we've kind of seen with San Antonio where it hasn't been filled up. It's just they've just been missing it. So so it's hard to project them to be better without Duncan because they just haven't shown that at all. So, so I think that maybe you're off all of these guys in cash and maybe just, assuming that maybe Kawhi can bounce back and wreak some havoc in, 30 minutes against Orlando, which he could definitely do in tournament. So, and that's fine. Aldridge kind of the same thing. There's no one that can defend them if they, bring their A game. And then Boban, of course, especially if he's going to get minutes in a blowout, you got to go him in some tournaments. But yeah, not a great game really altogether.
Yeah, I like the Boban call a lot. I think this is a prime spot for him. He's probably going to get a lot of Dwayne Dedman in garbage time. So prime spot, I think 20 plus DK points is very realistic here, given the spread. All right. Pretty much no one else. Tony Parker, Danny Green, Kyle Anderson, Ginobili. Not too much interest there.
I don't mind some Danny Green on DK. He's shown the last couple of games a little bit of life. He can get hot from 3. So if you're going a lot of lineups, maybe just a couple here or there is fine. So it's a quick shout out, but not much. Okay, let's keep on going. Chicago, Utah. We got a couple games left. So Chicago, Utah, 193.5 is the total. Utah is 3.5-point favorites. So not a great line really here for this game. I'll kick to you. I'm sure there's news and notes because these teams are always super injured.
Yeah, Chicago, same deal. Mirotic and Joakim Noah still out with their respective injuries. Utah's actually healthy for once, and obviously Alec Burks or whatever, but that's been that's been there for a while. So nothing new for either of these teams. This isn't a spot that I like for either team. Utah plays a super slow pace. Chicago's coming off a back-to-back. I don't love Pau Gasol against Gobert. Rose maybe in tournaments given how his usage lately, but not really. I don't know. Jimmy against Hayward, not really.
And then reverse Hayward against Jimmy, yeah.
I think this is a pretty easy fade of a game. I think maybe you look at some tournament exposure for guys like Gobert and Rodney Hood.
Yeah.
But cash game, I'm off this game entirely, pretty much.
Yeah, agreed. I'm off cash. I think obviously a lot of these guys that I play in cash a lot, like Pau and Jimmy, are great cash game plays. Even Gordon has been steady this year. So some of these guys that you usually play in cash and you just recognize their name, you can't really play in this matchup with the total. I do really love this game in tournaments just because I think a lot of these guys would be under-owned. They could still get hot, have high ceilings, and I do think there's potential for some overtime and extra possessions. So if you think this could be a close game, go down the wire, potential for overtime, I do think that you could get these guys a really low ownership and potentially get kind of a sneaky low played mini stack of, maybe Pau and Jimmy against Utah or something when people are scared of the Gobert Hayward stuff. So worth a thought.
For sure. That's about it. We got to highlight Rodney Hood's hot play as of late, though.
Yeah.
35 DK points over the last week. So definitely should have some exposure to him if you can. He's about 6K on both sides.
Yeah, he's been great lately. Cool. Let's keep on moving. Two more games. Toronto, Denver is the next game we'll talk about. Over-under's 207.5. Toronto's 5.5-point favorites. Kick to you. I don't think there's crazy news here. It's kind of same old stuff.
Yeah, the only news is Joffrey Laverne's probable with that right toe injury, and that's about it. All right, so Toronto side, I think I'm fine with Kyle Lowry. 8,700 on DK, 9K on FanDuel. Against the Denver defense, 106 implied too. I think this is a fine spot where it should be in consideration. Look at this. I mean, he's been fairly consistent. I think he gives you like a realistic floor around 28 to 30, with some legit, 50-point upside if things swing the right way. So definitely like his spot here. And I kind of, on one end, I want to have some Jonas Valanciunas against this.
In tournaments, I love him tonight.
Yeah, in tournaments, in Denver, in this Denver front court. But the worry obviously always is the matchup. If Casey downsizes and chooses to play someone like Scola at center, or even ops for a guy like Biz instead. So Jonas, definitely, I love him as a tournament play. DeRozan kind of in the middle. I don't love the peripherals enough to be all over him. Even with this high total, I think he's okay. But nothing too big that stands out. Any other guys that you're looking at here on Toronto, Brian?
Yeah, so I actually don't mind some tournament exposure to two of the guards with Terrence Ross and Kojo. Kojo being Corey Joseph. Joseph has been getting steady minutes lately. Ross, definitely not steady in his entire career, but he was getting 30 minutes a couple games ago. Has the potential to get a couple steals and have a sneaky 30-point game. So I think those guys are fine. But I agree at the top. Lowry, DeRozan. Lowry's for sure cash. I'm okay with DeRozan and cash, but I can understand the peripheral issue. And JV I love in tournaments for sure.
Yeah, DeRozan about 8,100 on both sides. All right, so let's move on to Denver's side. I think Jokic, oh my God, he's been just all over. He's been putting up massive lines as of late. I think you still ride him in the spot. I don't.
Yep.
He's 5,300 on DK, 5,100 on FanDuel. Pretty easy call. He's been averaging 35 DK points over last week. I love his all-around game. Obviously, has a really pretty high usage rate when he's on the floor. Can dime very well for a big man as well. Gives you some defensive potential too. So I think he's pretty easy cash.
Even matchup.
I like I said, with some of these guys, the way they're playing, like I talked with Jay the other day. Karl-Anthony Towns was going up against, I think, like OKC. Not a great matchup, but Cat was just crushing on fire as of late. I think Jokic is still in that zone where he can give you everything all around. And Joff still dealing with that toe injury. Nurkic still in a bit of a minutes restriction. So I think Jokic's minutes will be pretty safe around 19-20, where I like him in this spot. The other guys are tournament for me. I look at guys like Fareed and Will Barton. Where you at on Gallinari against DeRozan?
I like it.
Yeah,
I'm fine with him in cash. I was listening to, I can't remember what podcast it was, but anyway, they're talking about the reason that DeRozan's been playing really well this year, especially at the beginning of the year, is because he's always kind of struggled guarding the bigger threes. He's more of a he's a good defender, but
when he has size.
Yeah, so he kind of feasts on these shooting guards because he's a big shooting guard is what he is. But sometimes, in the past, he's had to play the small forward role against Toronto and play guys who are his size. So Gallo is obviously bigger than he is. So I think that DeRozan would actually struggle. And Gallo's been playing really well. So I'm fine with Gallo in cash and tournaments here for sure. I actually really like that play.
All right.
He'll be under own too. I will say Jokic. So the Cat OKC thing is kind of a tough. I don't know, because I don't think OKC is that good at defense, and I think Cat is a lot better than Jokic. So the fact that Jokic is just not as good, and I think Toronto's a lot better on defense, worries me a little bit. So I'm not okay with Cash, but I do like the tournament call on him. So we can just agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, that's fine. For me at this point, I'd be surprised if Jokic goes lower than 20 DK points at this point. I think, you look at his tournament for sure. If you're nervous with the Master, that's fine. But tournament for sure, like he has legit 40 plus DK point upside. But I think I weigh upside too when it comes to Cash because I play head to heads.
Sure.
And my win rate will depend on ceiling too. So it's just not all about floor. Maybe if you play 50-50s, you're worried about Jokic's floor here. But I think Jokic, is a really good player where he gives you a nice, 18 to 40 point range.
All right, I agree with that. I definitely won't laugh at people who have him in Cash. I just I probably won't do it myself. Is all I'm saying. Cool. All right, you ready to move on? Last game?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, Milwaukee, Sacramento's the last game, and fortunately we don't have a line. So we'll kind of jump right into the news and notes, which is probably the reason we don't have a line.
Yeah, so let's see here. For the Bucks, John Henson's questionable with that sore lower back. OJ Mayo is out with that sore left hamstring still. Johnny O'Brien missed last game, I think, with for personal reasons, but I don't think he was on injury report. So JOB should be back for this one. And on Sacramento's side, Boogie Cousins rolled his left ankle twice on Saturday, and that second one looked pretty bad to where he had to be helped off the floor to the locker room. I think given his propensity in the past to play through ankle injuries, he's had repeated rolls with his ankle throughout the season. I think he'll end up playing, but he's questionable as of now. Ben McLemore questionable with the sprained right wrist, and Marco Bellinelli probable with gastroenteritis. Let's start with the Bucks side, and I think I'm going to go really heavy on the Bucks here. I think this is a great spot against a reeling Kings team that's among the worst in terms of defenses out there. And Monroe, Middleton are really solid cash game plays. I don't mind. I like Giannis plenty in cash too. Giannis in tournaments as well. I think you really got to go heavy on those three there.
Yep. I agree. They're all three cash for me. And if DeMarcus was to be out, that solidifies it even more for sure.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, so if I agree, I see your point there, but there's a counterpoint though, is that if Boogie's out, then this game gets out of hand potentially.
I don't think it does. I don't think Milwaukee's good enough to do that.
I don't know.
Maybe so. You're right. It potentially would get out of hand
because you're going to get Quincy Acey playing minutes here, big minutes.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. I'm okay with taking that risk, but I could understand if you want to mitigate that and maybe go less Milwaukee and cash if Boogie was not going to play.
Yeah, I think they'll be productive enough on a permanent basis, right, to warrant cash game consideration even if Boogie's out. But I don't think it's like a great thing. You want this game to be close because I think a big problem with Milwaukee in the past has been the minutes, and they tend to play really lopsided results where they win by 20 or lose by 20. And this is a team that has that kind of we have it or we don't type of thing on a given night. So if this is one of their nights where things are rolling, then we can see 3.5 quarters of these guys potentially. Outside of that, Jabari Parker, Michael Carter-Williams, and I'm not really on either of those guys. Would you even have any exposure to MCW in tournaments?
Yeah. Just because I'm kind of anticipating what the line's going to be. I mean, obviously he's been bad lately, but I mean, he does have 40 potential. So at that price at 6'4", and what we expect is probably going to be a pretty high line and juicy total. Yeah, I think if I'm putting a lot of lineups together, I think I'll have some MCW.
Okay. All right.
I prefer him to Parker.
Well, Parker definitely has a more narrow range of outcomes, and
Yeah,
MCW is kind of the boomer bust type guy.
yeah,
We've seen Jabari get 32 minutes before and give
yeah.
you 18 DK points or something like that. All right, so let's move to the Sacramento side. Things can definitely be interesting. Let's first assume what the Kings look like if Boogie does play, which is probably the more likely of the outcomes here. So
Okay.
Boogie does play. I he's not a he's a tournament only for me,
Because of
especially when you
price.
guys have that the price plus you have Katie and Russell Westbrook on the slate too. There's really
True.
no reason for you to play Cousins over those two in cash.
True.
So tournament only and Rondo. Some tournament exposure is fine. He's been diming like crazy lately. Always has a triple double potential. I'm good with that.
Mm.
Um, Rudy Gay tournaments too, potentially though. The tougher matchups here with the wings that Milwaukee has. But I think if Boogie's limited, if he plays, you can look to Rudy Gay to have a bigger game than usual. I'm good with that.
I'm fine with Rudy getting cash.
Wow.
Yeah.
If Boogie plays.
Either way, I'm
Okay.
fine with them in cash. Yeah.
60.
Tournament or cash, or tournament, yeah, tournament or cash, regardless of whether he plays. I mean, if he's obviously out, he's amazing in cash at tournaments. But I'm fine with him even if he does play.
Okay.
That might be a hot take, I guess.
No, that's not hot at all. 6,800 on DK, he's fine. He's definitely in the mix there.
Yep.
And given what this total should be, I mean, Kings totals are always pretty high. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. They have a lot of pace. Yeah, and Rondo, I think is in tournaments. That's probably about it for me. I mean, they do some injuries, so I guess it opens some stuff up. Willie Cauley-Stein was a thing for a little bit. Collison
Yeah.
get some minutes, but I really just don't love the spot here. I guess Kufis might be a little interesting if Boogie was out, but you're right about Quincy AC. I don't know, nothing too super exciting here.
Yeah, I kind of just solidifies Gay as an option if Boogie's out and Rondo too, because Rondo's going to have to see a little bit more usage and take more shots than he usually would. Yeah, I don't love Bellinelli at all. If Boogie's out, do you like Omi Caspi at all?
I don't mind him in tournaments. Yeah, I think it's okay in tournaments. Just I would assume you get a slight usage bump. I don't think it necessarily affects it that much for me. So if I was on him in the first place, I think maybe it's a little bump, but it's more. I'm more on Gay really, and the price isn't that much more.
Yeah, it's about 1,600 on FanDuel
Yeah,
or 1,300 on FanDuel between Caspi and Gay.
yeah. I think just try to get up to Gay or go down to like Stanley Johnson.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
You want to run through positions then?
Yeah, let's do it real quick. All right. So point guard, yeah, we love Westbrook, obviously. Wall is in that same matchup, and we're fine with him. Lowry, we agree, is a really, really good play in cash if you want to kind of go down from there. Drew is getting expensive, but he's fine in cash. Yeah. Kyrie is still cheap. Been playing well. So he's borderline cash, but definitely tournament for sure. We like to Rose okay in some tournaments. But that even wasn't great. And then going down, it gets a little ugly here, trying to find some lower guys that we were interested in. Not really. Maybe some Kojo, I said that I liked in some tournaments if you're trying to be sneaky, and that's about it. So it looks like a night to pay up for point guards.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. You want to run through shooting guards?
Yeah. Oh, you got to give me the crappy position. All right. So, yeah, we're off Jimmy Butler. Don't mind some DeRozan in this matchup in tournaments. Middleton, loving cash, given the expected total. Monte, been on fire with the usage, but probably more tournament play. Rodney Hood, definitely want some exposure to him. Been even hotter than Monte. Definitely some tournament exposure. We like KCP, cheap way to get some exposure to this Nets defense. Will the Thrill, like him a little bit. Yeah,
That's about it.
that about does it.
Cool.
Terrence Ross, I guess.
Yeah, Terrence Ross is okay in some tournaments if you run a lot of lineups. All right, cool. So run through small forward real quick. Durant's obviously a great play. He's to play on DK. If you're kind of going him or Russ, he's at 10-4, which is really good. So definitely cash. LeBron's cash is fine, but I think it'd be pretty hard not to pay up for Durant at just 700 more. PG has been really up and down, but you could do some tournament exposure because he'll be really low owned because Durant and LeBron are right there. Kawhi's in this tough, weird state with Spurs, so I think that he's the guy to play in tournaments if you're going to go a Spur, but maybe limit their exposure just all around there. Giannis, I think, is great in cash in tournaments. Hayward is cash or tournament only for us. Gallo and Parsons, I'm fine with both of those. And you could extend it to Gay. I'm fine with all three of those in both formats. So a lot of small forward plays so far. Going down, we like Jeff Green a lot, especially in tournaments. He's been playing really well so far. Some Dudley may be okay in some tournaments if you're just trying to get exposure to that game in kind of the lower ownership way. And then Stanley Johnson, I really like it for too, especially in tournaments. So going down, I don't see anything else. So I think that's about it for small forward. And then I'll kick to you to power forward. Then I'll run through center and we'll finish it.
All right. Power forward, Boogie Cousins, tournament only. No reason for you to play him in cash with KD and Russ on the slate. Anthony Davis, more tournament in this matchup against Memphis. Millsap, fine in cash, should bounce back from his abysmal performance against Miami. Kevin Love, got to ride him the way he's been playing. Increased role under Tyronn Lue. Aldridge, I guess. I don't know. I some tournament exposure, but not really. I prefer Kawhi if we're going there. And Ryan Anderson, been solid with or without Anthony Davis. I like him. Yeah, I don't mind a little Kenneth Faried. Let's see. Serge Ibaka. I kind of prefer Cantor or Adams as the alternate ways to get exposure to this game, but Ibaka's not bad. Tristan Thompson's okay. Jordan Hill potentially worth a look if Jan Mahimi's out. Like Nene, I think I'll have to play more power forward. They'll probably roll out their bigger lineup with Nene starting against Ibaka rather than start Dudley. Yeah, and I think that about does it.
Cool. All right, and I'll run through center real quick and we'll finish it up. So at top of center is Pau Gasol. So he's 8-8. He's the highest priced guy. He's not cash game because of this matchup we talked about, but I really, really love him as a tournament play because it's a close game. He'll be really low owned, not only because of the matchup, but also because the fact that he's the highest priced guy. You can just go down 200 more and get Andre Drummond against the Nets. So obviously he's going to be really low owned, potentially still go off. Veteran dude. So love him as a tournament play. Drummond's in cash playable for sure. Marc Gasol is probably tournament only just because of the injury concern. Vooch is not in play against the Spurs. Brook Lopez has been killing it lately, even though it's not a great matchup against Drummond. Just the fact of recent play and still low price, I think, puts him in cash and tournaments for us at 7-4. Greg Monroe is in cash and tournaments against the Bucks, kind of regardless of Boogie. Gortat is in cash and tournaments for us against OKC at his low 6.9 price and that really high total. Horford is okay in cash if you must, but I'd rather go up a little bit to those guys. Tournaments is fine. Gobert tournaments. JV we love in tournaments. Miles Turner has been killing it lately. I'm off of him. Just recency bias. I think he'll be a little high owned and the matchup scares me, but you can go tournaments if you must. Jokic, you love in cash. I like him in tournaments. you guys can make your own decision in that regard. Cantor, we love in tournaments. If you want to get some exposure to that game and don't want to go Adams or Ibaka, like we said. And then below him right there is Adams. If you kind of want to just maybe rotate exposure among those guys, and hopefully one of them goes off. And then really the only other guy below here is Boban at 3-7 in a great matchup, huge spread against Orlando. Been playing bad, great spot for San Antonio to bounce back. So that'll end it there for center. But a lot of good value, a lot of good. It's actually a pretty good slate tomorrow. So we'll end it there. Good luck to you guys. And again, back to regular schedule. So you'll have to hear all of us more often. And good luck.
Bryan might take another vacation sometime soon. So you never know. We'll keep posted.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so good luck again tomorrow, and we'll talk to you guys Tuesday night.
All right, good luck, guys.